Hey guys, Paul here again. This is my chief bug hunting officer, Sparky. Anytime he sees a bug, he eats it, and he keeps the house pretty bug free. There he goes. So thanks for backing the project. Again, humbled by your support. Very happy to see you guys coming on board. If you're thinking about backing, hey, why not? What's the worst that could happen, right? So today's update is going to talk about the art style, the new art style of Void Destroyer 2. So to sum up everything in one word, money. That's the answer, money. To go into a little more detail requires talking about a lot of history of the project, starting from before the game even had a name up till pretty much a few weeks ago. So I've been working on this for a long time, like 6 years, 7 years. I started as a hobby, and back then it was hard for me to spend any money at it. And little by little, I got more comfortable spending money at it. And even then, when I spend money, I spend like 50 bucks a model, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I came across this artist. His name is Andrew, or I'll just call him Drew as I used to. And what happened was he was incredibly generous, incredibly passionate about the project, almost as passionate as me. We would email back and forth, 20 emails a day, many emails a day, ideas back and forth. It was great. It was incredible for somebody like me doing it on their own to find a talented artist that is also a gamer and a fan of the same games that I was trying to make. He was probably the game's biggest fan. It was incredible. So he made a bunch of models, and he sent me over some concepts of those models. And when I saw the concepts, I said, hey, that should be the look. And he sent me these concepts, which were these very basic um, textured models in basic colors, like greens, reds. They weren't textured like you usually see. And at first he was on board, but then he's like, I can do better. We can do better. And he sent over the style that Void Destroyer, the Part One, currently has. This sort of lower resolution models, lower resolution textures, this sort of cartoony style. And he created about 5 models, and then one day I stopped getting emails from him, and it was very unusual. Like I said, we would email back and forth 20 times a day, 30 times a day, just nonstop. And one day I didn't get an email from him, and I sent him an email a day or two later asking, hey, how's it going? What's up? And a few days later, I got an email from his sister telling me that he passed away. He died of a sudden heart attack. And that was incredible experience that I went through. First, I lost a friend, and I lost almost a partner on the game. Potentially, he would have been a partner had we kept going, and it created all these conflicting emotions in me. I wanted to continue, but I felt guilty. I felt sad, but I felt selfish for thinking about the game and things like that. It was all this mix of emotions, and I'm sure his family, his friends had far greater feelings than me. I don't want to downplay those. I didn't know him that long, for like maybe 8 months, but the 8 months were great. So the project almost stopped back then. That was maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The project almost stopped back then, and I had a handful of assets, um, and no artist, essentially. So the style was really nice, that I really liked. I had models, and every time I would turn on the game as I continue working on it, I would see his stuff, and I would be reminded, of what I lost, of the friend I lost, of the support of the project. Incredibly generous, incredibly talented. But what happened was a friend of his contacted me, named Mark, and he offered to help me with the game, and he essentially rescued the game. I don't know what would have happened without him. And he created more models as much as he was able to. He had some other personal problems that he couldn't do every single model. I looked for other artists, things like that. So to I guess sum up, it was incredibly difficult getting spaceships basis models for Void Destroyer. At some points I would spend days working at a model that wasn't quite right with the style that Drew set forth. Um, the new model wasn't quite right. I would agonize over whether to toss it, whether to use it. I would cannibalize ships for parts to smash them together to try to match the art style. It was incredible. It was some ships I would just toss away. They just weren't good enough. Um, you know, and it made a lasting impression on my mind where um, the art style was really hard to replicate, art style that he set. But at the same time, it was too far to switch art styles at that point. So a lot of ships in Void Destroyer, I wanted a lot more, a lot different, more civilian ships, more life, but I just couldn't get those. But either way, you know, through all the struggles, Void Destroyer was made. I think it's a great game. I think it has a great set of ships. Um, and I'm proud of those, but it was an incredible effort to get those. So when I started working on Void Destroyer 2, I had to create more civilian ships. Had to create more civilian ships because that's the nature of the game. Sandbox means civilian traffic, economy ships, bounty hunters, civilian transports. The player starts as a civilian, that kind of a thing. So what happened was I had a choice of continuing the art style or switching to a new art style. So from my experience, continuing would have been incredibly difficult as it was in part one. So I decided to try the new art style. And at first, and my inspiration was what Drew sent over those years ago, those basic mock-ups with the different colors, those very basic shapes. That was my inspiration. To me, it looked good. It was unique. Not totally unique. There's other games that have a similar art style, but it's risky, it's unique, it's different. But most of all, money. It costs less. That type of style costs less because there's not that aspect of texturing, having texture files to you know that needed this certain level of skill that Drew had and other artists couldn't exactly match. So like I said, money. But money isn't everything. What money really means is my ability to create those models via paying for them to somebody else. So this new art style has many advantages, has some disadvantages, but one of the advantages is I can texture map those myself. I'm not an artist. I'm a programmer. My strength is banging my head against the keyboard until code comes out. That's my strength. It's not art. I know what I like, but I can't make it out of scratch, you know, as far as art goes. I tried 3D modeling. I struggled with it. I tried to do it. I got better at it. Never really good. I could mash ships together from pieces, but that's about it. But what I can do is actually texture map them. Ships that my new artist provides me. So the thing is that new art style takes about an hour to 4 hours, in extreme cases like 6 hours if it's like a huge base with a lot of intricacies to texture map. And for an artist to texture map it in the old style or a new style, like a realistic style like you see in Star Citizen or Elite or other space games that kind of look all, you know, realistic or whatever, that costs a lot of money. So the issue is I could have, let's say, 50 ships in Void Destroyer of a certain style, or of this new style, let's say. Or I could have 25 ships of a realistic style. So my choice was more ships or less ships. So I chose more ships. So this style lets the game have a lot more ships in it due to money, due to budget, due to cost. These types of things where I'm constricted by. Luckily, my currency is risk. You know, I can take risks, I can experiment, I can do goofy stuff. I don't have a staff that rely on me. If Void Destroyer 2 tanks, I should be okay. I'll need to look for a job or something. I don't know. I don't want to think about it right now. But the bottom line is money. So the benefits of the style are cost. It's almost half as expensive as other styles, much faster. It's unique looking, not totally unique looking. There's other games that have a similar style, but there's not a lot of them. So people look at the game, they're not going to confuse it with Star Citizen, or it's not going to be a cheap ripoff of Star Citizen. Or even like a game that came out 10 years ago, a space game like the X games, for example. So it has those benefits. The negatives is that unique things are scary. Some people don't like them. They create sort of maybe stronger emotions than generic things. Generic things people go you know. Unique things people either like or dislike. But that's fine. That's okay. That's risk. I would rather somebody know that this is Void Destroyer rather than like, what is this? Is this other game came out 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago? You know, which is what was similar in Void Destroyer 1, although it had a different style. So the other disadvantage is that I spend my own time texture mapping these. But what I came to realize, what I came to find is that I actually kind of enjoy it. I enjoy texture mapping these things. I'll watch YouTube on my other monitor. There it is. Sorry for the shaking. There's my other monitor. That's my YouTube monitor right there. And the other one is my Visual Studio or Blender monitor where I model. So yeah, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through working on a ship from where I get it from my artist, and then putting it in the game. And as we go along, I'll comment some more. Hopefully I won't ramble too much. It's already like 12 minutes, but I am who I am. I like my rambling, but hopefully you'll forgive me. When I get a model from my artist, this is kind of what it looks like. You see there's a lot of jumbled stuff up here. That's because it's not UV mapped yet. Some of the parts are already UV mapped. These are reused parts from other models. Nice thing is reusing different parts means I don't have to UV map these again. Plus it creates the same style between ships of the same faction. So the first thing I tend to do, I tend to select everything, and I'll just grab all the faces here that are garbled up. I actually don't have to be very precise in this. I just toss them into the black area. Now things don't look as quite as jumbled up anymore. So this is what the ship looks like, just being plain black, I guess, except for those parts that have been reused. Actually, it doesn't look that bad, right? Well, the problems crop up when the light isn't directly shining at it in the back. It looks like it just I don't know, blank, empty. There's like no detail. There's no light. There's no detail. The detail you see are from those reuse sections. Yeah, but it looks nice in the front where there's light. Looks bad where there isn't any light. I actually thought about adding a light to the camera itself. I experimented with that. That looked okay, but it was a little bit strange having the main light and the camera light, and it caused some issues because essentially in 3D games, lighting is so incredibly important to give you that realistic feel. Human beings, we're used to, we understand how light works, how shadow, we just understand it. So if something looks strange, that tends to really hit our eyes. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half. Brutally cut it in half. Showing no mercy. The reason we cut it in half is basically that way we only have to do half the work, because this ship is symmetrical except for the weapons. We don't have to spend time texture mapping the two halves. We can just texture map one half of it, and that's plenty for us. If I now mirror it, you get that sort of an effect there. So what we're gonna do now, let me just hide these other guys here. So I'm gonna start texture mapping, and what we do is basically, I'm gonna hide these guys too. we just sort of added the detail. And what's nice about having these reusable parts is I get my colors here. What I'm basically doing, I'm grabbing faces, and as you can see, here's my texture map on the right side here. As you can see, it's really basic. It's just colors. So first you have to choose nice enough colors. That takes a little bit of help from a palette type website that I use to grab these colors, like these nice complementary colors. You gotta organize them in whichever way you want. I just made it into a grid. And then I grab these faces that I selected here, move them to the red. Bam, right? Now we have a little more detail. So the art style depends on edging things out, or what I call edging things out, which is basically making these subtle color variations between this side and this side. Now this is less subtle because this is red, but something like here might be slightly more subtle. So this process is kind of tedious, I guess you could say. You know, maybe you're looking at it, you're thinking I'm crazy for doing this. But if I'm watching YouTube and doing this kind of sort of mindlessly, it's not so bad. You know, I actually enjoy it a little bit. What happens is it's slightly relaxing, you know, because it's kind of mindless. When you're doing sort of these repetitive tasks that you're sort of in the groove doing, it sort of relaxes you, calms you down. And watching YouTube is fun. And the other thing is that this actually, when completing a ship, gives me this whole lot of satisfaction. You know, I feel great. I feel like I accomplished something that day. You know, maybe I was struggling with a bug or something, or some feature wasn't working out too well. But then I did this, and you know, all that went away because, hey, there's a new ship. You know, that kind of a deal. So yeah, this takes about this takes several hours depending on the ship. If it's non-symmetrical, it might take a little bit longer. Not being able to cut it in half, that sort of thing. But hey, you got to do what you got to do in the indie game development business. And I'm certainly somebody that is willing to do what I gotta do. To be a little bit awkward with words. Anyway, after some amount of time, we're pretty much finished. So here's the un-UV mapped area of the ship, the half of the ship that I removed, and here's the UV mapped ship. So it's just a matter of basically making these sorts of edges here, and my great artist makes these sort of recesses and extrusions all over the place, so I'm able to have these color variations. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make some copies of these objects. I'm going to mirror the center object here, and I'm going to just join everything together. I'm going to export this into a format that the game engine reads, and then I'm going to toss it into the game. So the fun thing is about this process is that I really don't know how it's going to look in the game engine until I put it in there, because the game engine has its shaders, lighting, things like that, and only then do I really know what it looks like in game. It looks pretty good to me here, but it's going to look much different in game because of just how Blender is and how different lighting is. But let's check it out. Alright, so here's our exported model in the game engine, and I think it's looking pretty good. Let's try to see if we can find any spots that need some more attention. There might be some spots, might not be 100% finished, but it might just be me, my own personal eye, that I see tiny little faults. For example, this area right here might need a little bit more. It's a little bit samey here, so it might need a little bit more. But other than that, it looks pretty good to me. As you can see, even where the light isn't shining, because of this style, because it's UV map, because there's different colors, you can actually see the geometry of the model. Speaking of the geometry, if you look right in this area, that's what the shader does. So the shader is this post-processing type effect on models, and it picks up the what the current screen is, and then it does some magic to it. And you can see that there's these lines here. These lines don't exist on the texture map, but they get pushed into here, so that gives this cool little edged, drawn, whatever you want to call it, effect. So there's another thing about the art style that people commented about, and it's the blue background. So there's two things that are going on here, and this area of space is a nice way to demonstrate them. The background is indeed blue, the skybox, and it's this sort of lo-fi type of skybox that I created myself. So it may not last for a long time. We'll see. We'll see. But there's also this sphere around the map. You might have thought that this sphere is infinite, that it doesn't move, or that it's like a skybox, but it's not. It actually gives you sort of this playable area type thing. What I'm gonna do is fly through this using the sun as my little gravity anchor, so I can show you the movement. So the purpose of this sphere is to convey the playable areas, not so much playable areas, but the sort of local space of certain areas. And I can demonstrate that by flying around this pretty large area here because of the sun gate occupies. So this is supposed to help you, kind of get your bearings, where up and down is, that sort of thing. And it definitely moves, the ship moves independent of it, unlike skyboxes, which usually move with the ship. So it kind of changes. So it's supposed to give you that sort of better situational awareness of where you are, which is pretty tough to do in Space Sims. Space Sims can have you lost, um, can have you feeling like you're in a turret almost, just turning, not really flying through space. That's things that I think about a lot, and I try to fight against. So that's one way that this little grid thing has been implemented for. And I'll keep working at it. I'll keep trying to improve it, that kind of stuff. And the bottom line is that sooner or later I'll make this sort of sphere optional. There'll be a checkbox. You can check it. You can uncheck it. Whether you like it or not, it'll be up to you. I hope that eventually most people will like it. Most people will appreciate it. But again, it needs some more work. Alrighty, so here's our ship again, and this time I've did a few tweaks. I get the weapons to work. I mapped a few different things. So this missile launcher now shoots. This chain gun now shoots also. A bunch of tweaks still left to do here, ammo-wise, particle effect-wise, things like that. Also map this view, this outside cockpit view, and the chase view. I got the engine, particles, their proper places. Got 3 engines. I think that looks pretty cool. Pretty cool looking ship. Here we are in combat. I'm going to turn off the time dilation feature that the game has to get things underway. And I purposely chose kind of weak ships to fight against, so we can have plenty of explosions, although they might be too nimble to evade the missiles. Nah, missiles certainly get them. I can turn on crew control just so I can look around my ship, enjoy it fighting, shooting its guns, things like that. Alright guys, so yeah, I hope you like the new art style. I know not everybody's going to like it, not everybody's going to love it, that sort of thing. Some of you, in fact, might not like it, but I think it has a lot of good benefits for the game. Um, sorry, it's actually kind of hard to talk and fight at the same time. I'll turn on the autopilot once more. Yeah, but definitely, if you have any opinions, feedback, those sorts of things that us game developers crave so much, definitely let me know. And yeah, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching this really long update. Hope to punch out some more updates for you guys soon, and I'll talk to you guys later.